What's going on, everybody? It's your homeboy E Short in his man room as usual with the ENL Sports Talk Show. I got my homeboy here, my big Les Miller. What's going on, Les?
Yo, E, everything is good, man. Always a
Yeah, I hear
pleasure.
you, man. We
Hmm.
have taken a little trip down I-95 into the New Jersey, Philadelphia area and came up with a couple of legends that competed against Les over the years back in the college days. So I'm gonna let Les take over the introductions to these gentlemen. Go ahead, Les.
Yeah, we got Andrew Fields and Roger Leysath, good two good brothers from Cheney State that got a chance to compete against when I was a youngster. And actually, my first year, we played against them in the regionals and at your house. And then my second year, we played against y'all in the regionals at our house at Hartwick. And I learned a lot from these guys because they were the epitome of being big guys and being coached by a great coach. And just seeing them, I basically back then the weird thing I didn't even know what an HBCU was, you know, and when I would see them guys come into the games, with their suits and jackets on and everything, man, and it was like that's the way a gentleman is supposed to be, especially a black gentleman. And I was in awe of you guys. And then the fact that
Mm.
you could play, that was another thing. But with all that said, I got a lot of stuff to say. So you guys introduce yourselves to our audience. You can start with you, Raj.
Well, good morning, everybody. Roger Berry Leysath from Philadelphia. Uh, I'm matriculated to Cheney State because our coach, legendary coach John Cheney, recruited me out of Philadelphia. And as you said, I selected Cheney because of the coach and how he recruited me versus other prominent schools and colleges. And me saying that was because he promised my mother if I came to Cheney that I would graduate and I would get my degree. And that was my mother's main focus. Additionally, he talked about winning, a national championship and coming out of the inner city, to the boys club and high school. You hear about national championships, but it was always like UCLA and, those powerhouse teams. But I kept
Mm-hmm.
thinking, a national championship, that's not local, that's national.
Mm-hmm.
So I said all to say, promises made, promises kept. And he recruited myself, Andrew, and Keith Willis out of Pottstown, taking into account that they already had a powerhouse team with Bill Costa, an All American, Jeffrey Hutchinson, whose birthday is today, Kenny Henson coming out of Delaware, Kenny Cisco Henson, who was All American out of Delaware, Gerald Mills out of Lower Marion before Kobe put it in the mark,
Mm-hmm.
Gilbert Saunders out of St. Tommy Moore, which was a most valuable player in the Diaper Dan Round Ball Classic, and a number of other players. Dana Clark from the Clark family in Philadelphia, who went to Winston-Salem first and then transferred into our program.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so Coach built a team, and our motto was always team together. And now I'll pass it on to Andrew because we both kind of have similar stories, but different versions.
Okay.
Yeah, how's everybody? Thank you for having me today. As Roger was, not to repeat anything that Roger was saying, but for myself, I was a different recruit for Coach Cheney because I was in the Jersey area, and he was introduced to me by a legend around here in Atlantic City, New Jersey, by the name of Gene Hudgens.
Mm-hmm.
And Gene Hudgens was someone who had he played semi-pro, and he was one that and he played for the Harlem Globetrotters and things like that. So he opened up gyms for us. So and during the high school times, because of my health issues, my exposure to playing was very limited. I only played 1 year as a sophomore, and then I played my senior year because my junior year I got cut, believe it or not. But
Mm-hmm.
um, it was because as a kid I had physical issues with my heart, and I had open heart surgery when I was a freshman in high school. So it limited me to having exposure to play sports right after my surgery in my freshman year in high school. So my interest wasn't focused to try to think about college or playing ball at that time, but we were playing in the state playoffs in high school. We were playing Camden High, and they were a big powerhouse team around here. And one of my teammates, who was known as Walt, his name was Walt Mumford. He was a high school All-American. So a lot of schools were attending these games to just be able to see us play, and because of him being an All-American. So it gave me the time to have exposure for other people to see me, and that's where Coach Cheney saw me with us playing Camden. And after the game, we met and spoke, and like Roger spoke about Coach, his main issue was that he not only was he recruiting us as student athletes, but he wanted to make sure that we graduate. He had a purpose for us. It wasn't because he was recruiting just because of any one talent. He had a purpose and wanted to make sure that we all graduated, which we all did. And he didn't even move on to Temple until everyone on that championship team graduated, which was Charles Murphy, who was the last person that was on that national championship team that made him then leave, go to Temple. So, and it was the journey was, we had our challenges, and I mean, Les knows, just like he spoke about at Hardwick. We played you guys several times, and one of the traditional things that Coach always believed was us to always present ourselves well. Like you said, come in with suit and tie. We were truly like designed to be like a professional, have the professional attitude of representing ourselves,
Yeah.
and it carried on onto the court as well. So our success was built in a lot on just discipline and commitment, and it paid off. We were very successful in our 4 years. So, and it was just an honor to play for John Cheney because he was that kind of guy.
Right.
So,
Let me interject there because I got to give you guys Hardwick y'all props too. Now y'all spoke about us, but I remember as we were preparing for y'all, and whoever we played against, Coach prepared us for our opponent by knowing who you guys were. And I remember Coach saying, "These guys are good." And we like, Coach, we Cheney State. He was like, no, these guys are good. So we got in there, and I think he might have emphasized these guys are good, and they New York ball players. Now,
Yeah.
Everybody got their little swag. I'm
Yeah.
from Philly, he's from Atlantic City.
Yeah.
Y'all guys are from New York, Brooklyn, whatever y'all call it. But I remember Coach saying, we got to prepare for these guys. And early on, I think me and Dip were probably freshmen or sophomores, and to go up against you guys, we realized, wow, they got talent. And like Andrew said, we were a well-coached team, but we were disciplined. I think we
Mhm.
had 3 plays. We ran the same 3 plays 100 million times because coaching was into the Lions. Then we were always playing, 5 against 7.
Mhm.
Uh, 30-game season, we may have played 5 games at Cope Hall at our home court, and we always travel. One of the drawbacks of being an HBCU, smaller campus, they pay NCAA pays more for the larger venues. So
Right.
us coming up to Hartwick and playing you guys, I'm like, wow, they got a big campus, they got these ballers from New York. And I remember Coach saying, these kids can play. So Coach was giving you guys y'all prop by
Mm-hmm.
preparing us.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget what the score was, but both games, they was wars. I think that second game, correct me, didn't somebody hit a shot last minute that we bumped them off? Now, don't
Yeah.
take it personally, you know.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
guys kind of helped prepare us for the journey that we were on. And that was something that Coach always mentioned on the
Mm-hmm.
court, off the court, how we conducted ourselves and
Mhm.
that we were on a journey. It took us 3 years to get to past you guys to get past the quarterfinals. 3 years getting to the quarterfinals and, and,
Right.
and losing, And then
Yeah.
when we finally got past that hump, I mean, you guys were part of the roadblock that helped prepare us for it,
Mm-hmm.
because Les, I remember heard you speak about your coach. He had you guys prepared, you
Yeah.
know. I
Yeah.
remember the first time Coach shared our scouting report with us, what other teams were saying. I was like, damn, is that how they look at us? Is that how they, think about us? And we
Mm-hmm.
all played a particular role
Mm-hmm.
on our team. So we had so many interchangeable pieces.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you guys definitely, deserve the props of giving us a good game. Let me put it that way, a good run.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
let me ask you, what was that level of discipline? How was the transition from playing in high school for you guys and then transitioning and playing for this gentleman who was like real hard on discipline? Was that a hard adjustment for you guys to make individually to conform to that process, or or was it something that you guys just fell into and it met your need because you were prepared for it?
Well, it was a sense of really like when Roger spoke earlier about when we speak about a team together. It was about sacrifices for each other to for the sake of winning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we didn't cheat each other out of that. Whether it's in practice or during the games, we strive to work together with each other and know and like Roger spoke on, we constantly went over plays and practice about consistently doing it so it was a mindset that stayed with you about us with our character, knowing that that people are watching us and knowing, even from us walking to the gym with a suit and tie on. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? It's that discipline that just carries over into onto the court so that people could look at us and respect us wherever we went. And that's what he ingrained in us through the years. And it just, and when you start seeing when it pays off when you go through games like even against, like Roger said, when we had the Eastern Regionals, we were always matched up we were all with Hartwick, we was always in that region,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Philadelphia Textile,
Yes. Very.
Hardwick,
Yeah.
all I mean it was we knew we were going to be seeing you somewhere down the line, whether it was during regular season or during playoff times.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, and it was something that coach ingrained in us, just to make sure that we carried ourselves in the proper manner and approach the game with the right mindset to
Yeah.
play these games, to get through them. And
Yeah.
and like and coach, I mean, he always had us playing in the away game, so it toughened us up as a team because we only played. I say I don't know, maybe like what 10 games at the most, at games at home, and most of them were away in hostile situations. So it prepared us for everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And even more importantly, the answer to that particular question, everybody couldn't play for Coach. Cheney being at HBCU, a lot of talent, on campus. A lot of ballers, but
Mm-hmm.
everybody couldn't play for Coach because of his demeanor his expectations. And if you came in there, let's say, with some of that razzle dazzle between the legs, behind the back, nah, that wasn't cutting it, because we were well-oiled machine, disciplined, fundamentally sound. And people always say, Coach Cheney was so hard. Guys, I was his whipping boy. Coach hollered at me when other guys messed up. All American coaches told me years later here, Raj, Coach hollered at you so much I wanted to quit. I said, well, damn. Did he holler at me that much? But that was just his way. He did it in a loving, compassionate way. And like when I said, when everybody couldn't play for him. I remember, we started out preseason, even before every practice, Coach would sit us down on the floor. We had what we used to call
sessions.
What do you call them, Dip?
Skull sessions.
Skull sessions, yeah. He would get in our heads and tell us what he wanted, what he expected, how we was going to carry ourselves, how we was going to play. You're your brother's keeper. Look at the guy next to you. You're going to watch out for him. You're going to be, his guide, his leader. And like I said, when me and Andrew came in, we were freshmen, and they already had 7, 8 guys ahead of us that had already set the pace. I mean, the simple things like, we all lived in Martin Luther King dormitory on the 7th floor, and Coach lived downstairs on the 1st floor. And the older guys used to say, y'all better get up and go to class. You might not be laying in bed. You better get your butt up and go to class. Coach would come upstairs, blow the whistle. You better have your stuff on. Get out the door and go to class. So it was bigger than basketball. It was about, Andrew said, us getting an education, how he groomed us. I'm sure Andrew can attest to this because we both had our fathers in our home. I seen some guys fold up because Coach hollered at them. Yeah, my father hollered at me. That wasn't nothing new. So the ones that couldn't take it or couldn't mold themselves into what we, were doing. And once again, I got to say kudos to you guys, because when Coach said, hey, these guys can play, he kind of likened you guys. I remember when we played Winston-Salem, big house games. Coach kept saying, we can't beat these guys. We practice to lose. We practice to lose on our own terms. We was like, Coach, you crazy. We never practice to lose on our own terms. He was like, these guys score 110 points a game. We score 107 points a game. We can't run with them. We lost the game, but this was a life lesson. We lost on our own terms. And them brothers, just like y'all, after the game, I remember they came to us and said, man, you boys is tough. If we want to play for big house games, we would want to play for Coach. Because the way y'all played us, and that was always a life lesson for me, even today as a businessman. If I lose, I'm going to lose on my own terms. Now, I don't plan on losing. One of the things I've taught my sons, either we win or we learn. And that was something that Coach taught us.
That's right.
And,
That's right.
We learned. We knew we couldn't beat them boys, but they ain't get their 107 points. I mean, the score was in the 80s on our terms, And I remember when we practiced, and I'm like, what do you mean, Coach? He didn't say we're practicing to lose. He was saying we're practicing to play on our own terms. Even fast forward, we went to the national championship, being a small HBCU. First when we played Eastern Illinois, they had a lot of black players. The team that we beat, Wisconsin Green Bay, no racial team. They was all black, we was all white. But they were expecting us to come in there, as Coach used to say, playing boogaloo basketball.
Right.
Well, they still ain't woke up to figure out how the little Cheney State beat them 47-40.
Wow.
Because we was disciplined. And what we put on them, I'm sure every time they hit Cheney State, they probably still have nightmares.
Wow.
Well, that's very funny, man, because I I was gonna say Les, man. This doesn't sound like eerily similar to some coaches that we played for when we were in high school. Community coaches in Brooklyn and people used to always say that the guy Gil Reynolds and George Murden were like, Cheney, like they no fooling around, represent yourself properly, and all those standards that you guys are referring to that coach provided and for your environment. We experienced that as high school students. So I can definitely relate to you guys' experiences with, the person that's in charge being more concerned about other than winning basketball games, but
Mm-hmm.
your character, who you are as a person,
Yeah.
how you
That's
conduct
right. That's
yourself.
right. That's right.
And
Yeah.
people have a lack of understanding of how positive and how
That's right.
influential that
That's right.
is for a young person grooming themselves to be an adult.
That's right.
And you
That's right.
really got to take your hat off to this man, because he did it in the institution, whereas Les and
That's
I
right.
experienced the coaches like that. It was a community coach, but an
Right.
institution had a gentleman that was doing the exact same thing around the same time too, as a matter of
Right.
fact, you know.
That's
You know,
right.
the only time that coach would let us loose, so to speak, when we would play Lincoln University, the other HBCU. They claim to be number one as HBCU, but we are number one. And that was the only time that coach would let us loose, like to do our thing. You know,
Okay.
you all behind the back. I mean, that was one of them games you run down the court and run into a cloud of smoke, reefer smoke, because they was smoking weed and drinking wine in the stands, and coach would be flipping out. I hate this game. You better stay disciplined, and but he would let us loose in that game
Mm-hmm.
because I guess of the tradition of the HBCU, and Lincoln was one of our rivals. But even when we played someone like Winston-Salem and Norfolk State, some of the southern schools, we had to still stay disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
And we were prepared, even when we went north, to play you guys in particular. Now, we went to Gannon every year, and that was 5 against 7. And, you got police dogs on the sidelines and folks throwing ice at us and everything. But he always had us prepared. And going back to the question, a lot of guys couldn't cut it with his disciplines, what he was instilling in us, and it was all lifelong lessons. I live my life today by a lot of things that coach instilled in me. And like I said, taking into account, my father was in my home and he was no nonsense and the way that he raised me. So I knew I was going to be in good hands when I went to him. And like I said, promises made, promises kept. And not just me and Andrew, all of our brothers, we all graduated. We've all had successful careers and lives. Doesn't matter what you did for a living. My brothers are good fathers. They're good husbands. They're disciplines. We still stay connected with each other.
Yeah.
And those lifelong things. So even with this, man, this is a blessing. Les, I kind of remember your face. You was tough. You tried to be a bully, but I was out here.
Yeah.
Coach
No,
always got prepared. And you guys challenged us.
yeah. But yo, man, it's funny how when you're in school, man, you're going through things, and it's like I can't wait to get out of here. And then when you're out of there, man, it's like those are the best years of my life.
That's right. Amen.
I didn't even know.
Yeah, buddy.
That's
Come
right.
on, man. And I'm gonna tell you something, man. Because so my freshman year, right? We get ready to go to the regionals. It was at your spot, right? It's my freshman year. I'm starting at center, right? That's how I got at the Hardwick. And coach threw me on the team, man. Yo, I was
What?
right to Brooklyn, man. And he threw me on the team, man. He sent Big Don down to my dorm room. He said, "Man, come talk to the coach, man." I said, "Man, F that motherfucker. I don't want to. I'm like, I'm going back to Brooklyn, man. I said, I'm messing up in school. I went to Brooklyn Tech, man. I'm not stupid. I'm 18 credits behind. I'm not playing that well in my heart, right? And I was getting ready to go back to LIU with my man Eric because we were all transferred. A lot of guys were transferring back. Our summer coach was taking us to come back to LIU. So I'll be downtown Brooklyn, right? 18 credits behind, got my own apartment, got to sit down a year. And I told my father, and he said, "Son, if you want to do that, I'll back you. He said, but if you run, you may always run. And that's the day I became a man, because I stayed up there, and I graduated on time. One of the first brothers to graduate on time with 2 extra credits. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And that was the story I would tell these young kids when I go coaching them. Telling them my story about how you got to man up. So going back to that part of the story was we were coming to play against you guys. So so he said, okay, I don't want to deny you this chance to go to the regional, because you never know. It may be the only time, right? So we had an All-American Dana Garris on our team, like hippie dude, man, that could play his ass off. So I go to the game, man, and he just passed away recently, man. But I'm sure he probably said, I wish I would have kept him off the team. I sucked that day. Man, I stunk up the court, bro. I probably had like 6 points and 4 rebounds, man. My first taste of like the whole Division II big time shit, man. And I was like, man, I said I have to redeem myself, man. And so the next year we got y'all, but we was at our spot, because I think you guys beat Albany State of Georgia. They had one of the Jones brothers on that team.
Yeah.
Everybody shots. Yo, and I don't know how y'all beat them, because but he was just a shot blocker. But y'all beat him. Y'all had I think Murphy was on your team too, right?
Yeah.
Charles Murphy, yeah.
And man, if we had 3-pointers back then, it would have been something, because he was shooting from the from the hashtag, man. It was like, come on, man. If we played a 1-3-1 defense, right? And he was shooting from way back at the hashtag, I was like, come on, this is crazy, man. Y'all beat us, and that's the year y'all went all the way. I think that was the year, yeah. But I mean, the experience of the college experience, man, it's what a blessing.
That's right. That's right.
And like I said, seeing you guys and the discipline, man, it as a proud Black man, it made me feel proud when I saw you guys. I'm like, look at this, man. So now my junior year, me and this other guy on my team, we used to dress up to go to the games too. Yeah, man. Because it just made me feel extra proud, because when I went to college, man, I had a big afro, my red, black, and green joint, and basically I'm from Brooklyn, so I go up there, man. There's nothing but snow, and there's nothing but snow people. So it was kind of different. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
Yeah. So when I saw you guys coming, I'm like, my peoples.
But that structure that you see and your experience in this college basketball space, people have no ideas. A lot of people in the stands, and we have to all remember this all the time, that they're watching us. And from their standpoints, they're fans of one of the 2 teams, or they're neutral, but they're still watching us. They're watching our conduct, how we conduct ourselves. Believe me, there's somebody in that stands that if you're playing a great game, you're influencing their feelings about you.
That's right.
Like they might that person might hate your guts, but come halftime, you're like, man, that dude could ball. Like, you start rooting for you, and you can influence people's opinions based on your conduct. And you could even end up being, a GOAT or a hero, and you could be the villain, and then people take stands on how you conducting yourself. And, when you walk out of that arena and you see people, and either beat, their home team or whatever, and you see those people, there's people giving gestures like, good job. It's uplifting. It's a process. And everything that you're getting out of that, it's like where dump trucks or those machines that pick up stuff, and that we're just picking up all this information and experiences. And even with your opponents, man, look at this relationship between opponents that were what we talking, like 40 years ago?
Yeah.
Over 30, but somewhere around that.
Yeah, we actually approaching 50 years.
Competitors.
I know, right? Yeah,
but honestly, picture the level of competition that was garnered that many years ago, and now we're sitting back talking about, and there's common things being said from both sides of that scores table of the opinions. Like, well, my coach was saying y'all were nice. Well, my coach is telling me y'all were nice, and it's just a little uplifting for me because I wasn't in that space with you guys, but it's common conversation.
Yeah.
I would, if I was talking to a guy that played, at Maryland or DePaul, and probably the same things we would be saying as well. And people have to understand the value of it because we understand it, you know. But it says so much value in our relationships and our experiences that you can, replace each other's with other people, and it's just a great thing, you know. And it's like
Yeah, what?
speaking. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Andrew.
No, no, it's just like you're speaking on. It's like as much as we could be competitive, we can be respectful too.
That's right.
Because while we were competitive at that time, like Les was talking about back in that time, we were competing against one another. It might not have been a hatred thing, but it was more like you're being challenged. But now you learn to appreciate what you've been through, and it's a respect for one another as men, as people, the experiences that we went through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the real feedback,
Yeah.
especially,
Yeah.
and you wish that you can pass that on to the next generation.
Well, you
That's
Because
do. You do.
yeah,
Don't say
yeah,
you wish, man.
yeah,
I don't know
you're
your well,
right.
but believe me, I
Yeah.
guarantee you that there's people that have passed your path between then and now, and that level of respect came out because you can't help yourself because
Right,
it was a
right,
great
Yeah.
time. So
right.
you're going to
That's right.
share those experiences all the time with people. And that's why Les and I do these shows. It's because of that, the
Mm,
commonality, the
yeah,
information. It has to be told. Your
yeah,
stories have
that's
to be
right.
told. And
Yeah, so
people don't know, but they need to know, you
Yeah.
know.
right. So it's a story that's being told daily. I like to think through all our lives because basketball teaches you about the game of life when you have the structure and the discipline and those things. It's not. It blows my mind. Like Andy said, here we coming up on 50 years, and people still come up to me and say, "I remember when you guys played and you guys did this and that." And
Yeah.
Bird,
Yeah.
you was such and such. My thing was, I was on the team. And they was like,
Right.
nah, but you was the man. I was like, nah, I was on the team.
Yeah.
But they was like, nah, but I seen you do this. I was like, dude, I was on the team. I said, we had no coach. He was an All-American, rocking jokers. Me and Dip was on the court together, but Dip's game versus my game, a lot of times I was like, I'm glad Dip got that rebound because I missed it. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
when you mentioned like Charlie Murphy, I mean, he could shoot the lights out. And I used to
Yeah.
tell Murphy to shoot and holler, Bird, get the rebound. I used to say, follow your shot. Sometimes I would say, Murph, pass the ball. He would say, Coach ain't told me to pass. He told me to shoot. So, but my point was that the game of basketball has enabled us to do so many other things in our life. I like
Yeah.
to think that all of us have passed back on to the youth, even though they have changed. I had the opportunity to coach college basketball for 10 years at a junior college, Gloucester County Community College, won a national junior college title there. And a lot of my players used to say, Coach, you changed my life. And I say to them, I'm only giving you what was given to me. What
Yeah.
kind of
You're right.
man or brother would I be if I didn't give you what somebody gave to me?
That's right.
It was
Right.
discipline, it was hard work, how they had to conduct themselves, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those mottos, each one teach one, reach back. I am where I'm at today because someone showed me,
Right.
you
That's
know,
right. That's
what to
right.
do.
Yeah.
You do this. You need to be doing that. Oh, you won't be doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So those
Right.
are all lifelong lessons, and I like to think that we are continuing to give back. I heard this thing is going to be taped. I hope some young folks see it and recognize, wow, there's some strong black men that were
Yeah.
ballers
Mhm.
that
That's
can
right.
do some things. We look at our lives and career. Andrew's had the opportunity to play professional ball for 18 years. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
I played a few years and stopped playing when I was 26 because I didn't like losing anymore. And for the last, I'm just celebrating 30 years of being what people tell me is a successful business owner, which blows my mind. I remember my last plane ride out of school thinking, I ain't gonna never be able to get on a plane again because I can't afford it. The school paid for the plane ride. I've been able to travel through hard work and discipline, to travel, to buy a plane ticket. Well, like that's like you said earlier, coming out of college, broke, poor, I had 3 hots in a car. I had a meal ticket and a dorm room.
Right.
But the disciplines and the lifelong friendships and what Coach instilled in us, I think we all share that commonality.
Yeah.
And I hope that this podcast can maybe reach some young brothers that they can see.
It will. It will. And the reason being is because like that, well, it's real easy because social media and those processes, are so open that people will have the opportunity. But it's not just them seeing it, they have to understand what the message is. And they have to look at that and look at who's saying the message and then break it down a little bit. Like we're talking about 4 gentlemen right now speaking, and we all had fathers in our households. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And so that structure, that belief system, of all of that should be an inspiring thing for young people to say, this is how it should be done. And it's not the only blueprint, but it is a blueprint. And people look at African American men, and I say this all the time, and I always fight for this, that like, excuse my language, but like we ain't shit. And that's a goddamn lie. I'm sorry.
Right.
We're good men.
Right.
We do the right thing. We're good fathers. Like you mentioned, I'm a good father, a good husband. You better believe it. You're not a better husband than me. But that's a level of pride, that we all have with what we do. We conduct ourselves like that. And just out of the mere fact of the extension, if Mr. Les Miller didn't, push to do this show, I wouldn't have met you two. So it's that reach, the arm reach of information of, those young kids will get it just as quickly as I got it and said, sure, I'll do the show because Les is right. And that's the value of who we are, what we've learned, and we're sharing it constantly. We live this. It's not just something we turn on and off. We might be hitting jumpers or grabbing rebounds and dunking on people. Well, just some of us.
Not no more.
I can dunk the hell out of a donut right about now.
but it's the value of it all, man. It's just and that's sometimes that's all we have to hold on to because it's our memories. But they mean something. Those memories have value to it. There is a monetary, value of our memories, and sharing that with young people and getting them to see the essence of, let's just say collegiate sports and the idea of getting an education because you can't do one without the other.
That's right.
There is a level of commitment that's required. And that's the message, and as probably other messages as well. And I take my hat off to all of us that put in the effort to do that. And
that's right.
And Les and I talk about this all the time, and it's like, it's good to hear from somebody else sometimes. So,
but there is a number of us that do those things that we stand in the gap and. I remember when I was working in corporate America, Indian guy from Pakistan told me one day, "Oh, tall man, you are the exception to your race." And I wanted to say, I'm the only black guy you ever had a conversation with that, take care of my kids, that, committed to my wife. I'm a hard worker. He was basing it on what he saw on TV. He offended me. He said, "Oh, I saw your brothers on TV killing each other." And I'm like, that's what you see in TV and social media. You don't know me and or my inner circle and my friends, who are, stand-up guys. Another friend was telling me, he said, "Raj, I want to write a book about successful businessmen like you, like me, who've come through." I said, well, there's different levels of success. I got a buddy that drove a bus for 35 years, 38 years, married to the same woman, raised his kids, put them through college, owns his house, pays his taxes. That's a success story. He ain't
That's
never
right.
played a game of basketball. Well, he played basketball, but he never played on the level that we did. So
Mm-hmm.
that's another success story within
Absolutely.
our race. Like Eric was saying, if we don't tell our story, nobody else will. And the ones
Yeah,
that
yeah,
do try to tell it,
yeah.
they put such a twist and a spin on it that we're lazy, we're shiftless. That this,
Yeah.
I'm a man first. I just happen to be a black man, and I wear that with pride. I've always
Yes.
had. You know, so we have to continue to do what we do to give back and help the youth and anybody else that we can. And if it's through the graciousness of sports and athletics, that those of us who were able to go to college, uh, uh, Les, you just said it. You graduated and you graduated with a extra credit. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you look at a lot of these college kids now. I don't understand this. They got the transfer portal, and you don't like it this school, you go this and that.
Yeah.
They can get paid now.
Mm-hmm.
I had a work study job getting $130 a month.
There we go. There we go. Yep. Yep.
But
Yep.
the
You know,
system, and
but,
the system, and that's because the system. Well, you had a couple of things happening at one time. The system that evolved as time went on, and our society is monetarily based. So it was inevitable for that to happen. But the way that is happening, it defeats all of the things that we've actually been sitting here talking about loyalty and putting in their work and hard, and putting in
right.
the effort. All of those things go out the window because you can run. You can jump ship at any point in time. And meanwhile, I've been married to the same woman for 40 years because there's a level of loyalty. That's my mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas
Right.
if I was a teenager now, I could jump. I'm dating you this week and dating you somebody else next week, or going
Yeah.
to this school this day. And I decide because I don't like the coach, he said something I didn't like, so I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna get more money. There's no loyalty to you. I mean, forget about being loyal to somebody else, but loyal to the process so that you can get the most out of it. So how am I
Well,
going to get the most out of it if I'm always jumping ship?
right.
I
And
have and there's no stability.
loyalty to oneself. Because look at what's going on with the NBA with this load management. I mean, what in the world? I play. You had to drag me off the court.
That's
Because I love the game.
Yeah.
I want to play.
Before you logged in, we were talking about that, right, guys? We were
That's
talking
right.
about playing. I wish I could still shoot, right? You wouldn't if I could still play. You couldn't get me off the court.
Right. It
You
was
know,
poetry in motion. I loved it. And working on my game and you know, uh, jumping. I remember I used to practice jumping over fences, so when I got on the court, I could jump higher than anybody else. You know, so
yeah.
just the little things like that. Like
I never thought about that jumping over fences. Less I should have tried.
Actually, he's in a meeting right now.
So when I was saying about that load management stuff, there's no commitment even worse about to the team for yourself. They're paying you millions of dollars, and I understand you may be injured, you may be hurt, but hey, man, it's a different breed now, different
Yeah.
times.
Well, it's about the money right now.
Yes.
I mean, even at the college level, they starting. I mean, listen, I mean, I'm all down for the college players to get paid. It's
Yeah,
just unfortunately, like, just think we set that groundwork for all that.
Mhm.
When you think about the work that we've put in, because just think of the schools that got sponsorships to wear certain shoes,
Right.
on their team. Now that was money that went to the university or went to the program that now they're paying these players to play at the college level.
Right.
And
right.
and and then of course, like I mean, I'm not going to downrate the players because they are out there playing ball like they're supposed to be playing it. I mean, I respect that, but you can't be complaining either. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
Don't tell me you hurt because you got a jammed finger. You can't play. You can't play because you got a little minor injury. You know, like even at the pro level, that's just so ridiculous about that with the type of money these guys are getting paid today. It's just out of this world, man. I'm just, it's like
and
it's
and it's
no.
and it's happening everywhere though.
Right,
It's
right, right.
happening in corporate America.
Yeah, the
You know,
same.
you
Yeah.
go into the banking industry, which Les and I worked in our whole lives,
Yeah.
and a
Yeah.
guy that comes in right out of college he wants to be an officer. He wants to be a VP in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And if
yeah,
that doesn't work out, there's a headhunter call and say, "Hey, come work at my bank. I'll give you $10,000 more." And you
mhm,
jump ship. So
right,
you
yeah,
show no loyalty to anything, no
yeah, that's
commitment
right.
to
That's
anything,
right.
and it spreads. It's like if you're living your lifestyle with not having the ability to commit to things for long term, then it's going
Hmm.
to impact all the other things that you do. And
Hmm.
that's the case. And we all understand that because we pick up habits, right? That's a habit.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Hmm.
but look what it's doing is creating bad habits in people that they're going to walk away 20, 30 years down the road, no family, baby mama drama or daddy mama drama, whatever the case may be, instability in work, living in an environment that you're not progressing if you wanted to because you don't have
Right.
the resources to do that, knowledge or anything. So it
Mhm.
has such an impact on other things in our lives, just as much as what we're saying now about us balling and who we've become. That's had an impact on us. So
Right.
believe me, this impact we don't know what the outcome is going to be
Right.
overall, right? It might end up
Right.
working out, or it might end up, destroying the process of collegiate sports. We don't know yet.
Right. Right.
But
That's
but
right.
who's paying attention? Who's the monitor of the monitor, so to speak.
Yeah. Right. That's right. That's right. And
So we
my whole thing, man, is like sometimes my wife says sometimes I'm loyal to a fault,
Mm.
because I stayed with the same company like 30 years, man, and I know there could have been other opportunities, this and that, but I was comfortable with what I did. I saw my father work on Wall Street for the same company for 40 years. So I was trying to emulate that, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I mean, when everything disbanded, I was kind of distraught, man. I was like, yo, I was trying to give y'all 40 years, man. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
Right. Right.
it just went another way, and then I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna work anymore. I took care of my mother's 100 years old. I took care of her for the last four
That's so
years.
hard, man. That's so
So
hard.
that was the best job I ever had in my life, man.
I hear you, man. I hear you, brother. I,
I mean, the first person I loved in my life, my first love, my mom, that was like a pleasure to take care of
sure.
her, man.
That's not a job, man. That's not a job if you're loving it,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
you
If you love
know,
it,
and it
yeah,
was
yeah,
so easy to do, right?
that's it.
I mean,
That's
Sure.
it.
and but the commitment that you put in, and it's like this, your experiences taught you that you have to do that. That's a
Yeah, yeah.
requirement
That's how
because
that's
of
how we brought up. Yeah,
yeah,
That's right. That's right.
and the sports environment and all of that is, like I always say, man, is like be a good teammate.
yep,
That's the
Yeah.
yep,
saying. Just be a good teammate. It's not hard,
yeah,
you know.
Sure. Yeah.
It really isn't, man. And it's like, but people that understand that are most likely athletes, and that's my saying. Be a
Yeah.
good teammate. If
They
you're a
can
good
relate.
teammate, we wouldn't be fighting wars. We wouldn't be killing each other.
Mm.
Everybody eats. But
yeah.
for
That's
some
That's
right.
right.
reason,
Everybody
that
eats.
yeah, but
Everybody
for
eats.
some reason that's not people don't care about that because selfishness rules the day.
Mm.
You
Yeah,
know, I'm taking 40 jumpers and I don't care if you get any shots. What was that
yeah.
guy's name? Murphy at what was the guy's name? Murphy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Shoot up. Yo, what was the guy in the backcourt, man? Blake Blackshear?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You talking about that was our senior year. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Mike Blackshear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I got some beef with him though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
Yeah, we both do.
we
He
could have
said we
had a
both
second.
do.
We could have had a chance at a second title our senior
Okay.
year. And
Uh-huh.
let me set this up for you so you understand.
Okay.
So we go in Final Four.
Hmm.
This is our senior year. This is after we won the championship. We're going to defend our title at the
Right.
Final Four.
Hmm.
So the night before the game, we in practice and we going through our our drills, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So then coach breaks out and explains that, look, if you ever get a double, if somebody comes to double you, don't spin. Back up and see so you can keep everything in front of you.
Right.
Back up instead of spin.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is less than 24 hours before he was told this repeatedly, not just once, several times. Well, we go out there and normally I respond to something that I see to get back defensively to try to defend the basket a little bit.
Right.
But he spun and the guy stripped it from the other side. And my jaw, I'm sure all of our jaws dropped because just like I say, in less than 24 hours ago, he was told not to do it that way.
Right.
And then I'm talking about, I'll say, because, I mean, I'm not trying to step off bounds, but, this was my year. I mean, I got drafted that year, and it was back-to-back titles would have really. I mean, I came out in the second round, but I thought that could have lifted me up into the first round pick.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I was so pissed. I mean, pissed.
Yeah.
And the thing is that as good as Mike was as far as a physical point guard, his size and all like that.
Right.
He was stubborn. He had his way about him where he wanted to just do it his way,
No, he was undisciplined.
Yeah, well, that was it. That's a part of it.
I love you, my brother. Let it go because I keep a strong hold on it too. Because you're right. If he was disciplined, his ass wouldn't have spin. He would have stepped back and moved forward. And I remember thinking, they keep trapping your ass, and it wasn't one time. It was a couple of times.
Like that should be something that teaches you. You should know, like the double team, man. You got to retreat on the double team.
Right,
you got to retreat. You have to back up because you see, because as a trainer, but for me as a trainer, the first thing that comes to my mind is to retreat so you can see.
That's right. The double and see who's open.
And we're Brooklynites, so Brooklyn guards double team. That's like when you're 6 years old, you're learning the double team. And I'm serious, man. And so the offensive player knows to retreat all the time. So if you're not listening, how did Coach Cheney deal with that?
Well, I don't know how he dealt with it because,
we were dealing with it. It was our senior year, and we should have had that second title. And here it is, 40 years later. Andrew ain't let it go. I ain't let it go. Damn it.
That's funny. That's funny.
No,
every
man.
time I see black there in the city, I remind him of that shit.
So, Roger, you saying that he takes the blunt for the loss the same way Boozer takes the blunt for the Duke loss?
Ooh.
Sort of, I mean, here it is 50 years later, he finally said, I should have listened to Coach. You damn right you should have listened to Coach. And how did Coach take it? He lost some of his hair.
Yeah.
He would be like, God damn it, what are you doing? I told you, So it was one of the things Mike wanted to do what he wanted to do and how he wanted to do it. And he wasn't as disciplined. Now some of the other guys, George Melton, who went on to be, top All-American, top pick. Right. You played against George.
I played against George.
They were freshmen when Andrew and I were seniors.
Right.
I remember George said to me over the years, Bird, Dip, when I came on board, y'all had the table set. All I had to do was sit down and eat.
That's it.
Because y'all already had the table set. Yeah. And George went on for a illustrious career with Coach and at Cheney and with wherever he went on and played pro ball and even more importantly, still successful with his wife and kids. So like I said, it's bigger than basketball. Those
that's right.
Teach you different things. And don't get me wrong, right. Mike has had a good career and a good life, and he's still with us. I still love him, But some days I don't like them because I get a flashback and
The
say,
flashback, right? Right, right.
hey,
So did you guys play Philly Textile too, right?
all the
yeah,
time,
all
Yeah,
the
yeah. They
time.
all the
always had they
time.
always had good teams
They
too.
was that you talking about Herb McGee. He
Yes,
prepared.
yes,
He prepared. He was our arch rival
yeah.
in that area. They were like, and let me and like it's so much we could talk about because like this was um this was the year that we won it, right? This
Right.
was our junior year. But what
Hmm.
was happening was we were hosting the Eastern Regionals on our campus.
Right.
So, Coach used a lot of psychological methods to get us geared up because what
Hmm.
happened was we had our
Bless you.
moment where we sat down, we go into the classroom, and
Hmm.
like I told you earlier, they were called skull sessions, where in
Right.
other
Right.
words, we just talked, right?
Mhm.
So he gave us a lecture about the fact that, here we are, we're ready to host the Eastern Regionals. So to get us to keep us focused, he breaks out to say that he was thinking about retiring.
Mm.
Now imagine that, right? Now
Hmm.
imagine that because we're home, and I understand. I was grasping this as the years went on, from
Hmm.
my freshman year to then, throughout the whole 4 years.
Right.
But it was like, wow, we talking about we ain't gonna let him go out like that. That
Hmm.
was the thing. But that was the psychological part.
Right.
And Philadelphia Textile was our arch rivals. They were like the ones that I mean, we always beat them in the Eastern Regionals. All 4 years, matter of fact, we won the Eastern Regionals every 4 years.
Mhm.
It was the quarterfinals that we had our problems with in the beginning, our freshman and sophomore year.
Right.
But this comes about, and we hosted and the place is crowded. I mean, the place is packed in our own gym. But it was, of course, we pulled it out, and I believe you guys was in there and that
Right.
particular
Because
year.
I think we man, I think you guys beat us the first game.
Right,
And then we
exactly.
played
I
Adelphi.
couldn't remember what order, and then
We
we
played
played.
Adelphi
Then
for the
we played.
consolation.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yep,
yeah,
yep.
yeah.
So, but that was the psychological, way that he approached that particular time because he didn't, we always talked about, he was saying that quarterfinal game was the one that was always getting, our freshman year, we lost to Randolph Macon. No, we
Okay,
lost to Old Dominion. Old
okay.
Dominion with Cliff Richardson.
Wilson Washington.
Yeah, we lost by 5. Then we
Hmm.
went to our sophomore year, we played Randolph Macon
Hmm.
down there, and they beat us at the buzzer.
Hmm.
So now when we got past that particular junior year, he says, "You guys give me this fourth, the quarterfinal game this time, and I'll get you the next 2 games." And
Wow.
that's when we won up in Yale. We won at the buzzer up in Yale.
Okay.
And he coached us through the rest of the championship.
Nice.
And
Nice.
yeah, it was and like once you get on a path of knowing how to get to something, it was our senior year. We got back to the Final Four
Hmm.
because we knew the path, and
Yeah.
we knew, and we were mature. We were a mature team.
Hmm.
When we speak about Blackshear, there was actually a guard that didn't come back. He's now a preacher,
Hmm.
and his name was Dwight Coleman. He was our point guard when we won the national championship.
Okay.
He
Okay.
didn't come back, which
Hmm.
would have been more like experience for us if we had got back then, because then we probably wouldn't be talking about Black Shear,
Right. Right. Right.
about the situation,
Yeah.
but he chose not to come back. But
Hmm.
that's kind of like, man, those years, like you say, just thinking about those 4 years in college were
Yeah.
really like the best years of our eyes when you
Yeah,
think about
that's
the
it.
experiences.
Yes.
Y'all talked about textile. You look at the Philadelphia region with that. Philadelphia is known for the Big Five:
Right.
Temple,
Right.
Villanova, LaSalle, St. Joe's,
Mm-hmm.
and whoever else. But then there were the small three, which
That's
was Cheney, Textile, and Widener in Division Three.
Okay.
Because the year we went to the Nationals or the championship, University of Penn lost to Magic Johnson in Michigan State.
Mm.
Widener lost to whoever they lost to in Division Three national championship game.
Mm.
Cheney State came home with the title.
Okay. Okay.
So in the Philadelphia region, it was the Big Five. And them schools they didn't want to play us. I remember one
Yeah.
time
that's
we
right.
scrimmaged,
They didn't
we
want to
scrimmaged
practice against them.
Villanova. We scrimmaged Villanova when they had the Heron brothers, Keith
Mm.
and Larry Heron. We
Mm.
dusted their ass off. And it's one of them closed door scrimmages. And
Mm.
after
That's
we
right.
dust
That's
them off,
right.
they said, erase the score. Take the
Yeah.
scoreboard down.
You
Yeah.
said they didn't
Yeah.
They
want to,
had
so
no
they didn't want to
choice.
play you guys in a regular
No,
game, but they would play scrimmages.
What it is? No. What would happen is we would scrimmage against certain teams, like you said, Villanova, St. Joe. But when
Mm-hmm.
we start waxing them, nobody wanted. Because in other words, like during Christmas breaks, when
Mm-hmm.
you're off, you're trying to stay in, during the holidays, stay in shape and playing and being prepared for tournaments. And so we was beating these teams in practice.
Yeah.
So when coach was reaching out, because coach didn't care. His whole point was just keeping us active and
Right.
keeping us ready and prepared.
anybody, anywhere, at
And
any time.
nobody wanted to play us after we
And
Right.
started
they
doing that.
definitely probably didn't want to play you during the regular season to set up
Right.
a
Oh no,
scheduled game.
they didn't
Because
Oh
want none
no.
of that.
to
They
them it's
didn't want
like
none of that.
they have too much to lose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they didn't want none. I'm
Yeah.
telling you.
They ain't
I
one of
mean,
them.
and I don't like to stick my chest out, but we were because we had another brother that was on our team. He's not with us now. That let me tell you something. It was the hardest decision that the coach had ever had to make.
Mm-hmm.
We when we were ready to get on the bus to go to Missouri for the national championship team, we left a player, and his
Mm-hmm.
name was John Walker. And this boy was like I mean, man, I mean, of course, we go on to still win the championship, but he was a plus. He was an extra plus to our team,
Mm-hmm.
and I know I can only imagine how difficult that was for coach to leave him because he was still adjusting to trying to understand what we were about. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Okay. Okay.
And I don't know if he was still sleeping up in his room or laying up with something or whatever he was doing.
Yeah.
But we sent somebody up to get him, and he got left. And it
Wow.
was, but he was just as bad. I mean, he was ambidextrous. He could play with both hands. He
Mm-hmm.
was a bad boy. I'm telling you, he was a bad boy, and which was just really an added dimension to our team, especially not only for that during that time, but to think about the year after. In other words,
Mhm.
for him to play the next season,
Right.
you know. But
Wow.
it's just crazy that the things that we ran into that we overcame because a lot of those players that was on that championship team, they didn't go through what Roger and I went through the years when I spoke about earlier, losing to Old Dominion
Mm-hmm.
in the quarterfinals, then losing to Randolph, making at the buzzer.
Mm-hmm.
They got that sweet spot when we won in our junior year when we won it all, and they were a part of the team because there was
Okay.
a lot of new faces on that team when we
Mm-hmm.
won it.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't experience the agony before the victory. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right. Right. Right.
So,
Right.
so
Did
that's
y'all? Did you guys ever play New York Tech with Kelvin Hicks?
oh yes, that New York Tech was another
Yeah,
challenge
man.
for us. Yeah, oh yeah,
Kelvin, no, no,
yeah.
no. those are all our Brooklyn brothers, man.
Yeah, I know. I
Every
know.
single
I
one of
know.
them.
I
Yeah.
know. Hey, I think we played, and I think we played Tech in, yeah, I know it was in the regionals, but I think we played them one year in our, regular season.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, oh man, yeah, man. That was
Yeah, big Kelvin. We went to high school together, man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
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 that was a tough squad, man. It was a
yeah,
tough squad. And like I said, Roger said to you, we had the utmost respect for everybody. I mean, we know the deal. I mean, even for us, period, just knowing where we come from, and having the respect for whether it's New York ball players, Philly ball players, Maryland ball players.
yeah,
Everybody knew the challenges that we were facing when
yeah,
we played those schools or players from
mhm,
those areas. So
yeah,
it was really a good time, and I'm sure it still exists with that same kind of philosophy. With
yeah,
guys playing from different areas.
yeah,
Well, it should.
No, you're right,
You
right,
know,
yeah.
it
right.
But
should.
but you know what though? I'm gonna tell you something, man. It's weird because brothers from Brooklyn, man. We back in the day growing up, man. We had this mentality that was nothing like Brooklyn. Okay.
Right. Mm.
So, but like me and Eric, we played everywhere. We played up in the Rucker. We was like we
Oh
what we
yeah.
like 13 years old, when we was playing up in the Rucker. So we go uptown, we playing up there, we playing in the Bronx, we doing everything, man. And I went away to college, man, and I got these guys from Jersey, and I was like, oh man, please. First day of practice, man, this guy, Greg Hall, he was an All-American at Harvard. He hit me across the face, man, with a forearm. And for like the next 5 times down the court, I didn't know where I was, man.
Oh,
And I was like, okay, welcome to the Division II basketball, you son of a bitch.
yeah.
Basketball is not only in Brooklyn. And the respect, I'm like, oh man, these guys from Jersey City, they're from here. And then it's like your whole world just like opens up, man.
Right, right,
And the respect, man, it's not like you didn't have respect, but the fact is like you gotta prove it to me.
right,
And once you
right.
gotta prove it to
That's
me,
right. That's right.
Yeah,
then
but
we good.
true ballers know true ballers,
Yeah,
and
yep,
that's
yep,
across the
yep,
board.
yep,
The other ones I call them the also rans.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
they was the last guy you would pick up. But
yeah,
true
right.
ballers know true ballers and
That's
can
it.
give each other those respect.
Yeah.
Win, lose, and draw, and after the game, be like, "Damn, bro,
Yo,
that was a good game."
good
You
game.
know,
Good game.
yeah,
Yep. Yeah,
that's
man.
much love and respect on that aspect of it.
Oh yeah, basketball players have very, very good memories, man, of their experiences on the court. So, a guy blocks your shot, you're gonna remember that when the clock is 0-0, you're gonna be like, man, that guy, he got me,
Yeah.
or vice versa, or I got him, one or the
Yeah,
other. And
Yeah.
that level of competition lasts, but once under normal circumstances, once that's over with, you
Mm.
don't know what kind of relationship could be created from
Right.
the
That's right.
experience and that level of respect that we're
Hmm.
talking about.
Hmm.
It means a lot. But if I had to face you again tomorrow, that it goes out the window right away. When
Right.
before that
Right.
first tossed up,
Yeah,
it's
bring
out
it
the
in next
window again
day.
because said you're new to me again.
yeah.
That's
And
right.
but
That's
that's
right.
the
Shut it up.
but that's how the machine works.
Right.
Yeah,
You
That's
know,
right.
and that's what allows you to create the relationships, to create your own vision of where you want to go with the game. Because now you're navigating your way because you're experiencing what I played like. I can play at
Hmm.
this level. I
That's
can
right.
play at a higher level. I
right,
maybe I
True.
can't, and
right.
so you start being a self-evaluator of yourself,
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's right.
in that environment. And that's a battle that happens and you're not even thinking of it. You probably weren't
That's
even thinking
right.
of it until I brought it up
Yeah,
your whole life.
that's
But
an
those things
unconscious
happen to
attitude.
you, man,
Yeah, that's
all
it.
the time, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
it makes it like I said, your memory, you go back and think about those things, you're like, damn, I put in work, or that guy put in work.
Yeah. That's
And
right.
I can relate to everything that you guys are saying because when you're playing against players, and I tell you, I played in this thing called BCIs in Arizona. Every state was represented. It was like all Americans,
Mm.
and on a high school level. and I played against this guy, Lionel Marchetti. Soon as we got on the layup line, man, this guy like put like his underarm over the rim. I mean, just that alone. But I'm just saying that's the experience. You
Yeah,
see
yeah,
that stuff all the
Yeah.
time. That somebody can jump, or this guy's like he's lighting it up with these jumpers, and it's like that respect is just developed,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes you want to meet that guy. I want to play with that guy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's this guy's that's his for him. Pete Les was getting phone calls from people. I want to play with Les Miller because he know he's going to come and bring that part of his game to the table,
right,
and
yeah.
that builds that relationship that somebody says, you know what, we need a Les Miller on our team. So
Yeah.
do hey
And, and,
Les.
and E, to that point, man, the funny thing was like, okay, so when it came to the time when we was growing up, if you needed a big man, it was like the first person was Kelvin Hicks, right? But see, Kel had bad knees, man, so he wouldn't play on the asphalt. So then they called me. So I played with some dudes, man. That I mean, Kurt Sumter, who played at New York Tech also, and Pete Edwards. They were the backcourt. So Kurt would come to the game at halftime and then still get 50. You know, he got his 40 in the beginning, in the
That's
first
not
half.
funny. That's the truth.
And the whole thing was that once they got double, triple T, they know that they can just throw me the ball. And I said, you know what, you guys are gonna miss sometimes. I'll get the rebound. You know what I mean? But they knew I was like the big man for hire, and it had a lot to do with Kelvin Hicks because even when I played in France, I played on this all-star team in Switzerland, which is where he played, and he was here, went home, and his coach was the coach of my team. And once they knew that I knew Kelvin Hicks, man, it was like, oh man, whatever you want, we can hook you up, man. But Kelvin Hicks was one of the nicest guys you'd ever want to meet, man. And I mean, we played together when he was like 13 years old. And this guy was catching people's shit from the top of the damn backboard, man. Like it was nothing, And I don't even think he knew how good he was, man, to be honest, And I think he came out the same year as you guys. Because Kelvin was
No, he's a year behind him, I think, Les.
Yeah, it was a year because I think Portland I think Portland trapped after him. Or was the Knicks?
The Knicks did.
The Knicks did. Yeah. But that's when they had all those different rounds and stuff, man. But that's something else I wanted to get to talk to you guys about. So what did you guys do after Cheney?
Well, I was drafted second round in Portland.
Okay.
And when I went out there, I get out to summer camp. Now that was the year, if you remember, in '77 they had won the championship. Portland Trailblazers. They won the big. So they didn't have much room on their roster. The first round pick was Jim Paxson. So he was so they pretty much signed, was going to sign him, and they didn't sign anybody else after that, under that. So from there, I get picked up as well. I'm out in the LA League, Summer League, a owner for a team in the Philippines saw me play and wanted me to come and play with him in the Philippines. So I went on and I was there. I was in the Philippines for, God, I'm trying to remember, 4 years, and we won like 3 championships.
Okay.
But what was happening is their seasons weren't long. Their seasons, the season was like 6 months long. So each year, only 1 year did they double back because what they had out there was an all Filipino league for 3 months. Then they had a 6'5" and under league, which means a guy could be 6'5" and under. They had that would be 3 months. Then they had what they call an open league, which is what I played in. My first year they did the open league back to back. So I was pretty much good for the first year, but then the next year they cycled it back to where it was, all Filipinos 6'5", and so it was like 1 year, man. That's 6'5", that's 6 months that I wasn't, I wasn't, I wasn't playing nowhere because I was just home waiting on them to call me back to come over there.
Right.
So I would say out of those 4 years that I played in the Philippines, it was about 1 year that I waited almost 6 months before it, so then that's when I wanted to make a change and talk to the agent about going getting over Europe because Europe has seasons that were 9 months long
Right.
or 10 months long.
Yeah.
So what happened is during the middle of the closeout of a season, I think 83, that I go to Belgium to keep this team up in first division because they were struggling.
Mm.
And so I went over there like around January or so, kept the team up, but they didn't still have the kind of money. They could pay me for that period of time, but they didn't have the kind of money to keep me for the whole year.
Okay.
Belgium wasn't paying that type of money. But
Mm-hmm.
so I went to Holland,
Mm-hmm.
won another championship there. Same situation happened with them. They didn't have the kind of money to keep me.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to get somewhere because I got married
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to get somewhere where I could prosper.
Right.
And so they got me in France. So I
Mm-hmm.
went in at 85, that was when my son was born.
Mm-hmm.
I went and played in France for 7 years.
What part of France?
I was in Nantes. I played in Nantes, France, and I played in Paris for 2 years.
Okay.
I'm 90, 91 and 92, I played in
Mm-hmm.
Paris. And then I went to Switzerland and played for 7 years.
Okay.
And that's when I picked back up and winning championships again. And my total career was 18 years. I won 9 championships over, playing in the course of that.
Did you
Mm-hmm.
You
ever
know,
run into Tom Lockhart when you were in Switzerland?
yep, Lockhart. Yes, I sure did.
Yeah, I talk to
Sure
Tom
did. Sure
periodically.
did. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
well, yeah, next time you bring my name up, Andy
Yeah.
Fields, he'll know.
I gotta
He'll know.
call him this week. So next week I'm gonna
Yeah,
talk to him.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'll give you my number or whatever if he wants to reach out to me or whatever. He was good. Did he wind up staying over there?
Yeah, he's still there.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we talk on Facebook all the time, and he
Oh,
runs the New York City History basketball project.
oh, really?
I'll send
Wow.
you the link so you'll see it.
Okay, sounds
And
good.
he's always he's a writer, so
Oh, okay.
he posts a lot of stuff about like courts in
Uh-huh.
Taiwan and in
Right.
Bangladesh, and this guy is unbelievable.
Wow.
But yeah,
Yeah, well,
I'll hook you
man.
up with him. I'll hook you
Yeah,
up with
yeah. Holler at him.
him. Yeah,
He'll
yeah.
know. He'll know what's up.
So
Mm-hmm.
how
But
do you
um,
like
but
that career overseas?
oh man, hey, listen, I wouldn't change it for the world. Let me tell you something. And this was another conversation I had with Coach because what happened was when Portland had released me, and in the process, in those two in 80, what year did Dominique Wilkins come out? 82?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Well, Atlanta, how there was two other tryouts that I went to. Atlanta wanted me to come back to Veterans Camp, and the Indiana Pacers after in '83,
Mm-hmm.
and and Atlanta wanted me to come back because they wanted me to spell Dominique. They was trying to bring me, but the problem was I had already signed back to play in Philippines. So when I was in negotiations, I'm saying like, listen, y'all pay me the difference. Y'all pay me on what the money that I'm going to lose by not going back to the Philippines. I'll
Right.
come to camp, and we could just run it from there, whether y'all keep me or whatever or not. But
Right.
but
Right.
they was pushing to me that they wanted me to be his backup. You know what I
mm,
mean? Never came to fruition. But then when I'm talking with Coach about all that and stuff like that, Coach said, "Listen, money is green all over." That's what he
Mm-hmm.
said. He says, "So don't, he says, just make the best out of what you got that's coming your way." So in the years to be able to see the world, because not only was I playing in those countries, I was also playing European Cup. So
Mm-hmm.
that our team, because we were winning championships and we were qualifying for, they have over there what they call the Corash Cup, Cup of Champions, and another um, Korach. It's three other cups that you can qualify for, that what happens is you'll play other teams in other countries because you made those qualifications with
Okay.
those cups.
I got
So I got to see the world like, I mean, I wouldn't have changed it for the world, man. I mean,
Right.
I was actually in hostile areas at the time when they were genociding in Yugoslavia. That was
Wow.
where that was when we played Tony Kukoc.
Okay.
Yeah, we played Tony Kukoc and them, and they were warfare, and you could see the warfare going on over the mountains when we got there. It
Mm.
was, yeah, man. So the experience that it brought me was through my lifetime was one that I wouldn't change for the world, man.
Right.
Absolutely.
I can
You know, I
imagine.
mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm grateful. I'm thankful. I was, God was good to keep me healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, keep me, you know, out of troubles. I mean, because there was times we traveled in certain areas where, they had like when we played in Greece, guys. No, when we played in Greece, guy had gun on the dashboard. Because at nighttime the rebels will come out and
Mm.
we played some hostile areas. And one time we played in Macedonia, and Jim had a cage around it. And these
Mm.
bad boys, people were spitting at us, throwing coins at us.
What? Wow.
Man, I had an experience, brother.
Welcome
And
to Europe.
yeah, man. I mean, it was, like that stuff that you be seeing. Because even going to when I would go and see a soccer game sometimes, to experience what's going
Those
on.
fights. Yeah.
But they used to have some crazy, like you say, fights. That stuff. I never went to another soccer game when I saw this
Yeah.
stuff that
Yeah.
happened in Belgium. Because I mean, they especially those European Cup games,
Mm.
because they come from other countries and they have rivalry with
Yeah.
different
No
people,
joke,
and
man.
it gets rowdy, man. And
Yeah.
I was
I
like,
can
oh my God,
imagine, man.
I was
That's
scared for my life at
that's
sometimes.
like that's a lot of madness that's going on, man. I'm
Oh
telling you.
man,
To this day, it's still like they don't know how to
yes, that's
Right.
right.
they
To
can't
this
Right.
day,
control
Right.
it. It's
Yeah.
that's right.
crazy. I
That's
don't want to
right.
cut you off, man, but what about you, Berg? What was life like for you um after Cheney?
After Cheney, unfortunately, I didn't get drafted. The Sixers gave me a rookie free agent tryout, I guess as a local kid. But like Andrew said, the team was so stacked with Darryl Dawkins, Lori Free, Harvey Catchings,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. J. I played center in college, so they had me listed as a center. I wasn't a center at 6'8", 185, barely 190 pounds. So I went to play with the Sixers farm team for 2 years, and they had me playing center behind Eddie Mass out of New York.
Oh, I
And
know. I played with Eddie,
Yeah.
man. Eastern
right,
League.
and he was the player coach. And uh, damn, Count Drac, what's that boy name? Out of Barringer, New Jersey, out of Nevada, Reno, 6'10", played with San Antonio one year. Damn, I can't
You
think of his
say
name.
you call him Count Dracula?
Yeah, he had no front teeth.
Yeah.
But anyway, after I played 2 years with the Sixers farm team, and
Mhm.
then I played 1 year with New Jersey Nets farm team.
Mhm.
Then I went over to Argentina, and
Mhm.
that was during the same time that they had the Falkland Island War,
Right.
when British and the U.S. invaded the Falkland Island. And I'm like, what the hell is going on over here? So I left, came home, and made a decision at that point at 26 years old, I need to do something else. So I called myself officially retiring and
Mhm.
took a job in my field because I got my degree working with as a social worker. And then the next year, I moved to Atlanta. That was actually, like Dip said, that was Dominic Booker's freshman year, rookie year. And I played in Atlanta NBA Pro Am, tried to get on with their team, but no room. Bummed around Atlanta for a while, and took a job out of something I never thought I would do as a state police. I needed a job. I made a little bit of money playing ball, but just hanging out. At that time, Atlanta was hot. Atlanta, it was chocolate city,
Yeah.
and being disciplined, I said, well, I need to go get a job. So I went to get a job as a counselor of OR, counselor of offender rehabilitation. He said it's no openings, but here's a state police job. Me being from Philadelphia, coming up in the late 60s and early 70s, I said, I won't be no cop. I looked at what they paying. I said, damn, that's what they paying? Then I said, don't nobody down here know me. They don't know me as Bird. They don't know me as Roger. So I went to the State Police Academy and was a state police for 8 years and then transferred over to the prison system, still trying to put my degree to use. Got promoted to the rank of sergeant in the mental health unit. And my first marriage brought me back to Philadelphia. And everybody was like, well, Bird, you was a cop there. You be a cop here? I'm like, nah, I know too many criminals. I won't be a cop here.
Those are my friends.
Yeah, they my friends, my homeboy. Nah. So I got lucky. I took a job in New Jersey, Cherry Hill, as at a pharmaceutical company, being a director of security, and did that for 10 years. And there was a major merger with Shine Pharmaceutical out of New York. And I'm watching all the white boys parlay themselves into different careers or whatever. So my wife did a proposal for to be the vice president, the president of security. I was a director of security. Get your glass sealed. I still remember the white man told me it ain't gonna happen. He wouldn't even look at my my proposal. And going back to my office, I said, I've been doing this for them for 10 years. I learned so much because it was a manufacturing plant of class 4 narcotics, fentanyl, morphine, all injectables. And I had to set up everything through the FDA. So I had learned so much. And going back to my office, I said, you know what? I could do this for myself. I could run a business. But the devil's a lie and the truth isn't in them. By the time I got back to my office, I said, basketball, social work, security and law enforcement. You don't know nothing about a business. So I went to Borders and bought a book, How to Write a Business Plan. I think Borders is closed now, but I bought a book on how to write a business plan. And being an HBC graduate, I said, hey, this is a lesson plan. So I wrote a business plan and did some networking, went to the Small Business Association. They gave my business plan a stamp of approval. I said, well, what's next? I said, young man, you got a good concept, good idea there. I recommend you get a Philadelphia business privilege license, which I did that. And in my personal life and career with that, I'm just celebrating 30 years of being in business. My accountant told me last year, she said, Roger, over the last 30 years, you realize you've hired over 600 people? I said, well, how the hell I did that? She said, well, I'm getting your accountant. I've done everybody's W-2s over the last 30 years. Also, while I was in New Jersey, I had opportunity to coach college basketball. I saw it in the paper and sent a resume in. And the athletic director called and said, hey, the coach want to interview you. So come on down. I go down and interview the little white guy. And he said, Roger Leysath, I thought that was you. I had no idea who the guy was. And this is one of the things you said about people know who you are. Mm-hmm. He was assistant coach at Textile under Herb McGee.
Wow.
And he told the athletic director, if he's going to accept the position, I don't want nobody else but him. Mm-hmm. So I accepted the position and coached college basketball at Gloucester County for 10 years and won a national junior college title, Division III. But it was still a national title.
Right.
He gave me 2 national titles. And I left there after 10 years and just to do my business because God is good. My business was growing and blowing up, so much. I never thought I would walk away from basketball, but, you never – man plans and God lays down your groundwork.
That's right.
And I always looked at it, I always had the utmost respect for Andrew's career because I remember coaching him and Sonny Hill told me, they was only going to pick one of y'all because y'all were a small HBCU. But I remember Coach saying to me, you know, you have the talent, you have the time, but God got a bigger plan for you. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I want you to get your degree. And Coach was so adamant, about, sticking and staying.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying that to me that, you got that degree. You can use that. Even I remember when I stopped playing ball, looking for a job, well, what you did for the last 4 or 5 years? Play professional basketball. Well, what kind of experience do you have?
Mm-hmm.
I have experience. I played professional basketball. So I went back to school and got my master's degree in business
Mm-hmm.
uh, as a therapeutic recreation major, and at the same time raising 3 sons. And it was a lesson for them just as well because there was always, Dad, everybody know you as Bird. Everybody know you as a baller. You didn't make us ballers. I said, no, me and your mom raised y'all through education. So all three of my sons graduated from college. They played a little ball, but that wasn't their ticket, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
they big boys. They 6'4", 6'3", 6'2".
Okay.
Um, so, the success for me with that. And like I said, over the last 30 years, running Leysath security firm, looking to retire here at 68 years old. I'm tired. I want to spend some time doing nothing.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah,
I
you
know
know,
what that's like.
yeah,
yeah.
the kids are doing
Yeah,
well. I'm blessed.
yeah.
I got 10 grandkids, and to them, I'm the greatest thing, since sliced bread. They
Yeah.
love grandpop and pop pop, and I love having them with me. And they can send them back home to my boys. I'll take these kids and go ahead.
Yeah.
I'll see them
Home
next
for a
time.
couple of hours, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So
I wanna
life
I
is kind of.
wanna I wanna jump back for a second if you don't mind, Bird. I don't want to forget this, and so I'm jumping back on Andrew for a minute because it's something that is in my head that he said earlier in the show that we didn't discuss. And this is kind of like it's kind of important to me because of what he said. You said you had heart surgery. Can you speak
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
that, please, if you don't mind? I don't. And Bert, I apologize for cutting you off, but
Oh, no
I
problem,
really
no
I
problem.
want to I want to cover this and make sure that you speak to that. Like, what can you, if you
Yeah,
don't
well,
mind?
yeah, when I was well, actually when I was born with a heart murmur. I had a small hole in my
Okay.
heart. And through the years, through my younger years, um, of course, it wasn't nothing, my family couldn't afford to do anything. I just was just going to doctors and they were just giving me guidance on what I could do or couldn't do. But as I got older and became more active in sports and stuff, it became a concern because with a small hole in the heart, it could expand. So, with, well, actually, God's blessing, um, there was a doctor that took me on at John Hopkins Hospital. And what happened is I was the first patient there that had ever had the open heart surgery at John Hopkins in Baltimore, Maryland. So it was free to my family. And I was at the time when I had it done, I was 13 years old. But they had to prepare, I had to, as I got older, they were giving me tests and all like that and things that they made to qualify for all that. There was a woman doctor from India who did the procedure on me, and it was a success. But the only thing is, after I had the surgery, I couldn't be active for 2 years. I was like kind of like discharged from taking on any gymnastics in my class, doing school, doing junior high school and part of high school, my freshman year. So that's kind of how I worked out. Then after 2 years, they discharged me and said that I was able to go, which then, made it so that I could be active of participating in different sports, which goes back to what I was saying about it was my sophomore year where I played on the JV team at the high school. My junior year, I got cut because I around here was like I'm in a small city, and
Mm-hmm.
it's more like cliquish. These guys they want certain players to be on their team, and I could
Oh yeah, the
feel that.
usual.
Yeah, and I could feel that that what they were going through. So I chose not to go to no practices, so I got
Mm.
cut.
Yeah.
But
But what was that? What was it diagnosed as for the surgery? What was it?
well, it was a left ventricle in my heart that was open, and they had to they put a like at that time, I guess some type of patch that was to close it off so it wouldn't expand.
Mhm.
And even like now, I have a defibrillator because that's what, anything, I'm talking about. I just got the defibrillator just, after I played ball.
Mhm.
But I was able to, from the time of that surgery through college, through me playing professional ball, I was, like it's so crazy because when you're going through that in life, you're lifting weights, you're running, you're exercising, you're playing, all that. Everything was fine. So when I'm after 18 years of playing ball, I figure like I come home, like you say, we were talking about retiring, to retire from the game. I'm feeling like I'm not stressing myself anymore. My body's relaxed. These ailments start coming up, like, they were telling me that, I need to get a defibrillator because just to wake my heart up, I guess, if it gets off beat, it's, I forgot what they call it. Like sometimes it gets off beat, off rhythm. So
Mhm.
that it's when,
Arrhythmia.
rhythm, there you go.
Yeah.
And so
I know this all too well. I'm sorry.
yeah,
Because
so
I have Marfan syndrome. You know what that is?
no, not
You know who
particular.
Isaiah Austin is?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Who played for Baylor and they didn't let him get
Yeah,
drafted?
oh yeah, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah,
have that.
yeah.
And that's why all of this is like this now.
Wow.
Because what they
Wow.
did is your aorta tears and you die.
Okay,
Just like
okay,
that. They killed
okay.
John Ritter, Bill
Right,
Paxton,
right,
my
right.
dad, my brother, and all of my uncles all died from it.
Wow.
And
Mm.
my aorta tore 3 times in the past 20 years. So,
Oh man, hey,
but they brought me back. And
bless you, brother. Bless you, my
but
man.
when you mentioned that right away, and Les probably, I don't know, when Les was sitting, we were talking earlier.
Mhm.
I don't know if he felt it, but as soon as you said the heart's problem,
That's
I
the
right
first thing
away,
I thought
I
about
right
you.
away went to crazy world, man, because it's
Yeah,
emotionally hard for me. Um,
yeah, I've been blessed. I mean, I'm truly thankful. The
Mhm.
Lord has really been good to me, man. That's all I can tell you.
yeah,
Absolutely.
heart ailments are um they're final,
That's
in
right.
everything. I mean, and you're
That's right.
gone, or it's final in decisions because
That's right.
it's when you're playing sports, that's they will shut you down. And
Yeah,
you'll get through high school. You
yeah.
probably get through college because they make you cough, you know,
Right,
and take your blood pressure, and they say go out there and kill yourself.
right,
But
right.
at the next level, in order to be insured
Yeah,
professionally, at least in the NBA, you have
yeah.
to you if you can't pass your physical, and they
Physical. That's
find
right.
that problem, they're going to shut you down.
That's right.
And
That's right. That's
so
right.
that's why, to me, man, it's like it's a pretty scary thing that your
Yeah.
dreams and aspirations for something that you've been doing all your life, all of a sudden it
Yeah,
gets shut down, and you don't
yeah.
understand it as a kid. You're playing, you're
That's
doing
right.
your thing. All of a sudden they say, "Hey, excuse me, you no longer play anymore because you failed the
Yeah,
physical."
that's
It's
right.
crushing, man. And so
Let me tell you guys something, man, because I've known this guy since he was like 3 years old, right? So that's like 64 years I've known this guy, right?
63 and a half, man. Stop it.
And, and back in the day when we talk about Brooklyn basketball, man, was during the Albert King days. Albert King was like one of the greatest high
Oh
school basketball
man.
players.
Hey, well, not
And
just
Albert
that.
King, they said Eric Short.
Uh-huh.
That's how nice this guy was. Okay.
Wow.
Now, like I said, I've known him all my life, man. And from doing these shows, man, I didn't realize, like, our senior year in high school, he was off the team. He went to a different high school than me. And doing an interview one day, he was telling me that he flunked off the team because his mother didn't want him to play ball because of this situation with his heart, right? And so he said, well, if I can't play ball, I'm not going to school. And this was during an interview that he's talking about this, man. I'm like, Negro, I've known you all my life, man, and I didn't know that was the reason why,
Wow.
And it was like, because I didn't know how crazy that shit was, man. And I remember when it happened to him, man. And my wife's a nurse, and she told me that usually they don't make this diagnosis. They make the diagnosis in the morgue.
Yeah.
So the people that took care of him that day when it first happened to him, it was a blessing. So I fly down to go see him, man, and I ain't cried that much. I lost my son, man, one time, and I cried that much for this guy, and I was like, yo, come on, man, what do we need to do, man? And he's hard headed. So then we started talking more about how it was like hereditary in a sense, And then he's telling me the stories about why he wasn't playing ball, and I mean, homeboy, I ain't trying to bust his balls and blow his horn, but he was nice. He was really, really nice, man. And it's like,
couldn't be stopped.
this is my little brother, man. You know what I mean? I'll do anything for this guy. This is why we do the show too. Another reason why we do the show is because I want to hear from people. I want to hear what your story is and what you were saying too. About your heart condition. It's another good thing for other people. They're gonna watch this show and they're gonna know what can happen. They're gonna know that bird, his success that he's done with his business, things like that, man. We need to know that. And the other thing is that we've done some shows, man, and maybe a year or so later, the people that are on the show, they're not even around anymore. But you get to hear them and say, they can say what they want to say. I need to tell you that I love you, that we were competitors, man, and the respect that we have for each other. You know what I mean?
That's
and
right.
for our kids to be able to say, yo, that's my dad, that's my uncle. You know what I mean? And
that's right.
And this is why it's more important now, because I realize, hey, man, I just turned 67 on Friday, right? So I understand that, man. And we had a good friend who passed away, man, and I started sending out the video to a lot of his people, and they were like, "Oh man, I'm so glad to see this." You know what I mean?
I was thinking the same thing, Les. Man,
I mean,
I start crying right now, man. I was thinking about this the other day. We interviewed, and this guy he played at New York Tech.
Yeah, he played at New York Tech,
and he was the athletic director for Bowie State for like 20 years or something.
Yeah.
And like a very well loved guy, liked, brother. And we did it. We had him on the show, and we're talking all this junk because he went to high school with Les.
Yeah.
And so he played. They played against me, and I was busting his ass. But nevertheless, may he rest in peace. But after the fact, man, like maybe what was it? Maybe a month later, he died.
Yeah.
Dies.
Well, guys, life has a way of coming full circle and mirroring each other, or mirroring so many different similar scenarios. When I met Andrew, I always heard he had a heart condition. The first time I saw that big T on his chest, I said to myself, "Oh my God, how did this guy make it through that?" I'm talking about a literal T across his chest. And in the back of my mind, I used to always wonder, is he going to make it? Is he going to be all right? And knowing how we practice twice a day, 7 days a week, and coach would run us for 2 hours. without a damn ball. And over the years, I've always had the utmost respect for Dip because I knew what he had went through. I heard his story, early on. Even after Cheney, I wasn't jealous, but I used to always wonder, why him, why not me? With his career. But that was the path that God laid out for him. God laid out, for me. I wanted to continue playing ball, such as Andrew or everybody else, kind of along the way that went on and played overseas, or some went and played in the league. But when I looked at it and said God had a different plan for me in my life, and that it still continued with basketball, that when I coached college basketball and won. I remember the other assistant coach said to me, Raj, what was best, winning it as a player or winning it as a coach? I said, man, I still get goosebumps when thinking about winning it as a player. He said, no, I think over the years you're going to appreciate the second one because you took what you had and gave it to somebody else and they got the same results.
Wow. Nice.
They wrote your name in the record books for all times. And that was something that Coach had told us. I remember, I think about our junior year, me and Dip wanted to pledge Kappa. And we go to Coach because he was a Kappa. And Coach closed the door and took out his paddle and said, I'm about to kill both of y'all. He said, I don't give a shit about that. I'm about to write the name in the record books for all time. Do you know what we're trying to do? Well, we didn't become Kappas, but our name was written in the record book for all times. And like I said, I've always had the utmost respect for Andrew with what I heard his story, what he had been through, and to be the top athlete that he was. So like I said, it wasn't never a jealousy thing. It was a lot of times that I questioned myself. But as my life continued to develop after ball, and that's the bigger picture that we're talking about here. Because even when Les called and said, man, I want to hook up with you guys and talk about y'all, I'm like, wait a minute. Ain't that the dude from Hardwick, man, that kept elbowing me? He was catch up with us about
that was him. That was him. That's
right.
him, all right.
I played center, he played center. But he was a little bit heavier than me.
That was
I'm
him.
6'5", I'm 6'8", I was long and skinny. Like I'm saying, do I remember dude? When he finally sent me a picture, I said, yeah, that's that nigga that was, excuse me. That kept elbowing me.
But I tell you, but the experiences and like for Andrew, like just everybody's different, but you look over the history, right? You look at time, and I think of what's his name? Hank Gathers and Reggie Lewis and as a young kid, man, for me, like I knew I had this since I was 8 years old. And I remember exactly where I was sitting. I tell this story all the time where I was sitting, where my mom was standing, my grandmother and the doctor. And when they told me, my mom was like adamant, like no more basketball, that you're done. And Les would notice because I'd be out playing and my mother would come and get me. Am I right, Les? We'd be in the park playing and she'd like, get your ass home and spank me on the way home because she didn't want me doing physical activity because, whatever.
Right.
But then you go through it. So like you said, those hard workouts, there were times where I would coast because I'm afraid something's going to happen to me. So inside I'm doing the wind sprints, but I'm doing it and I'm not trying to be the first guy because I'm afraid if I push myself too much, because you get that feeling. And I don't know, as a child, you don't understand. All you know is the doctor says you got a heart problem. So you're watching yourself and you don't know if you're doing the right thing. And then you go and play, you get punished. So that those experiences for me, for me personally, like I'd never said, why did Orlando Blackman get drafted and not me? And I used to bust his ass like it was
that's he played center too. When we was in high school, you was at center, I was at center, and he was at center, and then both y'all playing point guard.
Yeah, and he could not handle me, and he knows that, and that's as we were growing up. But and the same with Al King and I grew up playing together. So, but I knew that at some point in time it was going to be shut down. So my approach was so different in how I accepted all of the things that we think is great. In my mind, I was afraid, and plus I was being punished by my mom. So it's like, you know what? I'm not going to class. And I was a 90 plus student. It was math and all that was easy to me. But I just said, you know what? I'm not going to do it. Not going to go to class. Go to for the
He was
final.
rebelling.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
so I go, but I go take the final and I get a 90. But then the math teacher says, well, Eric, you didn't meet the legal requirements for attendance. So I
What?
failed because of attendance. I didn't, because
Wow.
I passed the final, but you say, well, what good is it because you didn't meet that standard? You got to fail because of lack of attendance. To this day, as a matter of fact, Les, we got to get him on the show. My
yeah,
teammate who made like second team all city that year, he's like to this day, he's so upset with me. It was his senior year. I was a junior, and he
yeah.
says, "You messed up my senior year." Yeah, Eric Green, my high school teammate.
He's a sucker.
And
He's a
it's like, and
sucker.
he was like incredible, the most offensive guard
No,
I've ever played
he
with in my
can hoop.
life.
He can hoop. He can
Yeah.
hoop.
And so, but the actions that happen to you during the course of your life as a kid, you're gonna make, immature decisions. And I didn't even tell anybody. Les didn't know that I had this disease until I got sick. Because the
Yeah.
parents say, like, keep your personal business in the house. So don't go out
Right.
there and tell nobody. So I'm living this kind of like living like a lie, but like when I'm on eggshells, because I don't know if I'm gonna get sick, get hurt, and I scored 28 points one game, and next game I have 5 points. It's because I'm like, it's just I cannot describe what it internally feels like when you're afraid that if not that to play well I can get sick, but if I play hard I'm going to get sick or something might happen. But then you see, years later, Hank Gathers passed away and like, whoa, I dodged that bullet. Then you saw Reggie Lewis, I dodged that bullet, and
The person that comes to mind to me is Lynn Bias.
that
Yes.
too. Yeah, but that was
That
off
that
the
that
court though. But
boy.
yeah, but that was
Yeah,
off the court,
yeah,
And the
Yeah.
weird part though is that there is the condition itself, and like Les said it,
right, right.
when like Les says, when Dawn said that you usually don't diagnose that you have Marfan syndrome usually until you're dead. And then they do the autopsy and it's like, well, this guy's and this is what happened. Because
Yeah.
you will die 15 minutes after your aorta tears. You're gone.
Yeah.
And my aorta tore 3 times.
Wow. Bless
And
you,
I'm
man.
still here. And so
Bless you, brother.
I
Bless
can't
you.
make sense of it, man. And I'm sorry to commandeer the show into that conversation, but
Yeah.
um,
'Cause-
No, well, that's a testament of
Yeah,
life and God working in all our lives.
yeah, absolutely.
And you
Absolutely.
know,
yeah,
with
and to
with
give
it
me the
sounds.
knowledge, because the funny thing is, though, Bird, is that
Hmm.
if I had not have responded to the attack that happened, and then
Hmm.
once again, that's the Lord was tapping me on my shoulder, like, well, or you got a decision to make now. Either you dispel and say, "Oh, it's funny feeling in my chest, I'm okay," and in 15 minutes I collapse, or honey, call 911.
right, right.
And it was honey called 911, and that's what happened, and that saved my life. Was that decision right
Yep.
there
Yep.
saved my
That's right.
life.
Right.
And I could have very easily, like I said, dispelled it and said, hey, let me go, have some potato chips and a soda or something. Before you know it, and it's weird because my brother had the attack. He was standing in front of a hospital. They could not save him.
Oh my
He was
God.
standing right in front of it, and he collapsed right in front of the hospital. And you have to have a trauma center there, and
Right.
because
Yeah,
otherwise you're in
man.
trouble. Yeah,
Mm.
and the legal law is that if you become unstable, or they won't move you. So to move you into a hospitalized trauma center, the ambulance will not take you if you're not stable.
Let me tell you
And
something, man. And that is so true. Because, and I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry, but this is when you talk about a moment of a decision. I don't know if I shared. I was in a car accident,
Mhm.
and I mean, this is when because I did some coaching I told you about at a community college as well, and I'm rushing because I'm kind of like running behind a little bit. But anyway, I made get into this car accident. where the car was totally at fault. And what happens is I'm going to make a left turn. The car, it was it's a lane where you make the left turn when you the way you're facing, then the other car is making a left turn on the other side. But the car behind that car passed the guy speeding and came and hit me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there and my stomach swells up,
Mm.
right? So I'm getting out the car, and what I'm really thinking about is I'm getting ready to get myself unstrapped, and I'm going to get this dude out this daggone truck, and I'm gonna beat his behind. You know what I mean? And I mean that's I mean I was there,
Mm.
but I get out as I'm getting out, my stomach swells up,
Mm.
and I'm like, whoa! I'm looking at my body, and so guy says, "So you all right?" He's panicking. So I go off to the side because we're in the middle of the road. The ambulance comes. And so I'm saying it was a Pomona hospital right there, not too far from where the accident was. I said, "You got to take me there." He says, "No. Now, this is a decision that the person made in the ambulance." He
Mm.
says, "No, you got to go back to Atlantic City because that's the only place that had the trauma unit,
Mm.
because I was internally bleeding." And
Wow.
so, yeah, that decision in itself saved my life.
Yeah,
Mm.
That's
people don't
that
understand. Right. People
that's
don't
right.
understand that trauma center has
Right.
certain skill sets in that
Right.
facility
Yeah,
that
yeah,
serves everything, whereas a normal regional
That's
hospital
right.
might not. And that is imperative to
Yeah.
the survival rate for certain injuries. And you
That's
can,
right.
I
That's
Right.
right.
think there might be the capability or possibility of, you requesting certain hospitals, but legally they have to take you to the closest place, but they can make the decision, and most of the
Right.
time they do, and they'll airlift you if they have to, because they know that that hospital can't serve your
Right.
injuries. But
That's
it's like,
right. That's
but
right.
it's kind of
Right.
That's
like,
right.
but some people don't even know, and they say, well, that person succumbed to their injuries. Why? Because we took him
That's
to a
right.
hospital that couldn't handle, his injury. And
That's
you
right.
have to
Mm.
manage that yourself, like request it, like take me to a trauma center, like what's, if you can talk, it's like what's wrong, no, 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 no,
Yeah. That's right. That's
but
right.
and you learn as time goes, you learn in life about certain things.
Yeah.
And that's how come when that check engine light for your body comes on, no matter what it is, man, take your butt to the hospital, man. And that's my
That's
favorite
right.
place, and that's one of
That's
my
right.
favorite places. Like people say they want to go to a destination, go on vacation somewhere. I go to your hospital, walk around. That's why I do it all the time, and I'm so comfortable in a hospital because they saved my life. It's the most comfortable place in the world to me.
Yeah.
You know, I go in there, start talking to
Mm.
nurses. I feel so happy I'm there, and it's just really crazy scene, man. So but yeah, those experiences, man, are
Yeah.
something else, man. And I'm just glad that you two brothers um have had, such an opportunity to, be able to hone your skills and then develop into, very, very good brothers, man. That
I appreciate you, man.
that
Appreciate
is,
you.
and
Yeah.
it has to be relayed to people to understand. Because I always say to people, unless you know this, like the top players in our society, they all have Wikipedia pages. You can look up anybody of an NBA level, that there's a Wikipedia page and information about them. But the people that fall off of that list is our stories. The guys that didn't have a illustrious career, but at the same time they had a positive career, a great career after playing ball. Like the thing says, become a professional in something else. Just look on this screen right here, and young people don't understand the value of what you go through 40 years later, to understand that this is really what it was all for. It wasn't to become in the Hall of Fame, it wasn't to become the best player at that school, but it was, who you are now,
Of
you
the
know.
development.
Yeah,
Mm.
and because the people that didn't play, they're sitting in a seat similar to ours, their grandparents husbands, fathers, so this was our path, you
That's
know,
right.
and it's to be, reminded to others, especially people who are standing on our shoulders. And they're standing
Amen.
there, believe me, all them young kids that you've coached, talked to, whether it's sports related or not, they're standing on our shoulders. And that torch is, we have to pass that information on to them, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm. All right.
And amen to that.
Yep. You know what
Yeah,
they say? Says man makes plans and God laughs.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because it's all in His hands. You know.
That's right.
yeah, yeah. And sometimes I don't even bother to even have a conversation, and just do what you do, and
Yeah,
let
yeah.
the pieces will fall into place, because we've already been given the foundation, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's kind of like, what button to push when you want to turn the air on, or the radio, or turn the car. You know how to, we're the owner operator, but
Mm.
who sets the standard is, the path that we have to take,
Yeah.
you know.
Amen.
And it's tough sometimes, man, because of ailments.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's that right.
you know. And I'm going through so many of them, man. We all got some kind of sickness, man. Everybody's got
Oh yeah.
something.
Hey, I always say you live long enough,
That's right.
you're gonna get something.
That's
Yeah,
You
it.
know what I mean?
yeah, you know.
And
Yeah.
we all hitting milestones, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But at the same time, we just have to be grateful because we're still here
Yeah,
Yeah.
and,
yeah,
and be
yeah,
thankful.
Yeah.
yeah. Except for
Yeah.
those times where Les is throwing the elbows, right, right, Bird.
Yeah.
I wonder who taught him that, man. Since we got you on the line, Les, who taught you that, man?
You know, I
Yeah,
was talking
man. You
about my
must have been
father.
messing around with Matumbo or something, man, with them sharp elbows, you know.
Well, I hope this interview has been well worth it for you guys. You know, I mean, I appreciate you guys inviting us
Yeah.
and having us today and to speak about, life in general, the experiences that we all been through, that we can relate and the legacies that we're leaving for people to blossom with, you know what I mean? Like you say, we're passing it on to our kids and so forth,
Yeah.
That's one of the things that even after basketball, came back working for the Boys and Girls Club, and it would really gave me real pleasure to be able to, to give back,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
you
Yep.
know.
Yep.
But do you understand the impact that, like, we're looking at things, well, in our conversation, we're looking at things from our eyes at them. But
Right.
understand that, and I really focus on this because I talk to kids all the time, everywhere I go, how they look at you. They pay
Yeah,
attention to that.
that's
Look at
right.
their
That's right.
responses and see
You
that,
have to
because
set an
that's
example.
your
Yeah,
payment. But I'm gonna say,
that's right.
but that's your payment, is that you
Yeah.
see that kid is like, he's listening, and so, you know what, he's
That's right.
not. Let me talk to him more. Let me get him.
Right.
Let me like, I broke. If once you break that threshold in there and you have their attention, like, there's
Hmm.
power in that, man. And it's like,
That's right.
I listen, I talk about it. Let's just like, I talk to his kid, and and then all of a sudden his father comes over and says, these are the things that, what we're providing. Those kids they're sponging everything that we tell them, and it's
Yeah.
incredible, whether it's a teenager or a college student, it doesn't make
Well,
any difference,
it's with this new technology and stuff, because, I have some, around in the area, I'm pretty well known here in the city. So, people want to invite me because they know my experiences and stuff like that. But I go to the different schools to talk. So
Mhm.
I go in there to express, and we talk about my professional career and what I've done. And my thing is, I relate to I was once sitting where you are with my hopes and dreams of different things. Well, the first thing that kids are doing now with the high technology is they'll Google you. boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
and and then they coming up to you, and like when you talk about, then you gain respect, or you open that threshold.
Hmm.
Those are the things that, because once you speak in truth to people, and they can relate to it, they're open to, just like they bubble eyed, you know what I mean? They just like wide open to like absorb anything you want, that you can instill in them, and that's kind of like one of the experiences. But that technology stuff these days is just so, because even for me, when they said it, the kid comes up, says, "Oh yeah, boom, I see your name here, boom, 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 you this, that." I was like, "Oh, okay, well, but as long as you speak in truth to them,
Right.
that's
And
what
that, but
that's
they're
what.
testing you. They're testy.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we were testy to people, but
yeah,
it's funny thing. Like I use Coach Cheney as an example. He said he knows that young people are going to be tested. So
yeah,
he said his
yeah,
standard, his table of contents, they're
yeah.
non-negotiable. So he
Yep, that's
presents
right.
them. This is what it is.
That's right.
And once the person accepts it, no matter who it is, they're buying in. If you said it, you're not going to grab your wife or your girlfriend at one time and grab her by a hair and drag her off without speaking to dad and mom
Right,
and getting
right, right, right,
approval, and
right,
maybe a couple of godfathers, which Les will attest he was going to kill my son-in-law. you know but
Yeah.
these but those are the things that happen, man. It's like those conversations that you afford kids to understand who you are. And for me, it's the first thing I do is like I have to make you comfortable with who I am, and so that you'll know. And one
That's
thing I
right.
always say to
That's right.
people is people trust me with their children.
Yeah.
And that
Mhm.
means more than whether or not I can teach you a drop step or a jump shot. You
Hmm.
trust me with your children. And
That's
that
right.
is and that's value in who you are,
Yeah.
and whether it's a college, student, or it's a young, elementary school kid, that level of trust that's there is that, like you said, you communicated and you let that person know what you stand for, that I'm a trusting person that to sell you a bill of goods or give you advice. And it's like,
Yeah.
look, you don't have to take advice. Do what you do with social media. Anything not worthy, delete it. But if
Yeah.
it has some value, put it in a file in your head. A year, 2 years, 5 years later, you're gonna be like, man, that bald head guy, that guy with the glasses, or whatever you want to say about the person who gave the information. He said, you know what, he was right.
Hmm. That's
That old
right. That's
damn
right.
Coach Miller, man. I didn't believe him, but you know what, he was right, man. Now I'm gonna start doing right. Something's gonna kick in for that kid.
Yeah.
And
That's
that's
right.
what and that's
Yeah.
what all adults are really, that's what we're supposed to be doing. Sharing experiences and using wisdom to afford, like, and I even saw in the news this morning, like the things that are going on now, they're not gonna impact us. They're gonna impact our grandkids.
That's right. That's right.
So it's
That's
kind of
right.
like, so once again, the information that's being shared, it's going to be in a file for them to be used for the next generation, not for us. you
Right.
know
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
that's what we do.
Mm.
Bird, you
That's
ain't
right.
asleep, are you, man? You taking naps on this, man?
No, 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 no. I was just responding back to some emails.
Yeah,
I
now
still
you look like you were taking a page from Les. Let's be falling
look.
asleep on this show, man. I'm gonna kill him.
No, but look, I was honored, to be in you guys' company and to share my brief story and to reconnect with you guys and hear what's going on in everybody's life. And I
Mm.
want us to continue, hopefully, to stay in touch and keep reaching back and doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
Nobody's promised tomorrow. This past few years after COVID, I've lost a number of people that were really close to me, family members, friends, teammates. And one of the things I
Mm.
realized, ain't nobody getting out of here alive. You know,
Here we go. There
Yeah,
so
we go.
live each day to the
yeah,
fullest. Stay prayed up. Stay
Yep.
positive. Seek peace and just enjoy life, man.
yeah, yeah.
That's where
In
I'm at.
any way, shape, or form, even if it means that you gotta, tear it up.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah,
it doesn't make any difference, man. And this is like a weird conversation because I think about this so much because my health is in question, and there's another friend that we had, a guy named Clarence Thornton, and we played together in the Rucker high school Rucker, me, Les, and him. And my mom passed away. My mother-in-law passed away a year ago last month, and like the guy knew my wife because they worked together. So he called me. He was like, "Hey, Eric, man, I heard your mother-in-law passed away. Blah blah blah." And it was like around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He calls me, and then the next day, man, I find out that he died. And little
Mm.
do I know, like he died, like it had to have been like about an hour after we talked on the phone. I must have cried for like six
Yeah.
hours nonstop, man. So
Wow.
that's why I
Yeah.
know, man. It's like tomorrow is not promised, and you
Mhm.
don't know what
Mm.
the hell is going to happen, man. And like you said, nobody's going to make it out of here alive. Which
Yeah,
sounds
Yep.
like that's a
that's
crazy
life.
statement, Bird.
That's a true statement,
That's a
though.
yeah, but that's
Yeah.
That's a true statement. Yep. Yep. Yep.
that's
Yep.
facts, man. And but while we're here, man, it's like there's so many things to do. There's so much on everybody's wish list. Um, and we just have to, like you said, stay prayed up, man, and um be righteous, man. That's my
Mm.
word is like righteous because I that solves a lot of problems, man. Right,
Mhm.
righteousness, man. And,
Yep.
I think it's for me in this show. There's a lot of I'm grateful to be able to meet you two, because it's an extension of my basketball family has just gotten bigger today,
Mm.
and probably not as big as it's going to be because I'm gonna nurture the relationship so that it grows,
Amen. Amen.
and
Yes.
I'm really proud and happy to meet you guys today, and thank you guys for coming on the show, man. It's been a bit of a blast, man.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah,
Same here.
yeah. Hit it up, Les, man. Come on, man, Mr. Hartwick.
No, man. I just want to thank my Cheney State brothers, man, because like I said, they had set the standard high, man. Being a gentleman and good ball players, man. So it was something that coming from Brooklyn, man, and then being at Hartwick, I hadn't even seen no shit like that, man. And it just like from the whole team, man. They played tough, but they were gentlemen. And one thing that's lost sometimes in sports is I try to instill into these kids today. So basketball is still a gentleman's sport. There's nothing wrong with knocking your ass down and then picking you up, and say you all right. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'll pick you up and I said, but you come down the lane again, I'm gonna do it again. You know what I mean? But I ain't, if I dunk on you, I ain't gotta tell you your mother, your father, your sister. I just dunked on you. I'll pat you on the ass and say, maybe you'll get that next time. But that's between me and you. You know what I mean? But it's still a gentleman's sport, man. There's nothing wrong with picking a man up, man. Sportsmanship has gone out the fucking window, man. I don't
Right.
understand, man. But you guys were always gentlemen. You played tough, but you're a gentleman, man. And it's a pleasure to know you guys. And you have no idea the effect you had on my life. To see you
Same
guys.
here, brother.
They know
Same here.
now.
Yeah,
Huh?
no,
Same
no.
They
here.
know now, Les.
Yeah, yeah. But that's the real tip, though, man. When I saw y'all on Facebook, man, I was like, oh shoot, I know them guys. They don't know me, but I know them.
Yeah, yeah. Now I remember you asked my elbow on me, so I forgive you now.
But yeah, I appreciate you guys, and I thank you for coming on and accepting the invitation.
You're more than
Appreciate it.
welcome, brother. It was an honor.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely
Yeah.
an honor.
And as time goes on, just share it with everybody that you know and let them know um that that there's a history behind what you guys have accomplished. And I would my personal opinion is there's a lot of pride in the successes that you guys had at Cheney, and especially playing for the man that you played for. I mean, I don't know,
Amen. Amen.
a
Amen.
lot of people don't even know about him as well. And that's why I said, that doing these shows and enlightening people on some things, they have to understand what this man did for a lot of brothers, man.
That's
And
right. That's right.
and we Les and I have done this because of the coaches in Brooklyn and the things that that's part of why we're doing this, and we always reflect on the value of those guys. But it's not exclusive to Brooklyn. There were other people in other places in this country that were, sharing knowledge and wisdom to develop us. And they were mentors through in the community or in, universities and college educational environments that helped us be the men that we are today. And you'd be a damn fool to think that these two gentlemen that have come on our show today are not great men. Yeah, you'd be a fool to say that. And I'm proud to know you guys now. Y'all are my
I
teammates, man.
appreciate it.
Thank
So
you,
give
brother.
me the
I
ball,
want,
because give me the ball.
Yeah.
I want you guys to keep us in prayer because we're in pursuit of trying to be honored by the NCAA. I'm working on some things for this to get them to sanction us. In 2 years from now, in 28 will be 50 years that we had won the national championship. So I'm trying to make connections with. I just left a message with Dan Gavin about getting the approval from the NCAA to sanction a awards ceremony for us in 2028 for our 50th year of winning the national championship. So just keep us in prayer with that, and we're going to try to make this happen.
They should not
And
be in any level of objection to that, because that
yeah,
they well, like Les said, like there's a level of what do you call being just a gentleman's sport, right? And
yeah,
being a gentleman requires some other things that'll happen, and
mhm,
that's the celebration, the honoring of certain things, the history,
yeah,
and it's odd. It's a young man, Sindarius Thornwell, played for University of
mhm,
South Carolina. I trained him, and he got drafted by the Clippers. He played at Oak Hill, right? And they just honored him. He made like the Wall of Fame, or they didn't call it the Hall of Fame. It's like Wall of something, like Wall of Success, something like that. But we're in a society that celebration is welcomed, and especially
right,
anniversaries are welcomed. I'm getting
Right.
ready. My daughter's wedding anniversary is coming up in 4 days. Mine is coming up next month. Les is coming up next month, right, Les?
Yeah.
Now you
Yeah.
showing
So
your 30
yeah.
years to
So
be married.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
they have to honor that. I mean, right, well, they don't have to do anything, but they should. They should honor, the school and that,
right,
that 50th anniversary. Those things, those milestones are important. Do not let them
yeah.
don't let them cow out. And don't,
Oh,
you know,
yeah, no, no, no. We sent an email. I sent the email back in February, and I understood that, of course, with the tournament and stuff like that, it was preparing for the NCAA championships and all like that. But I had just left a message yesterday because now I'm going to heat it up. The season's over.
Yeah.
I'm going to be on top of it to just get all we asking for is a commitment. We're going to get this sponsor. We're going to find the venue. We're going to do all the above.
Okay.
And
Okay.
all we just need you guys to have a representative to come through to sanction it and to honor it as something that, because it's not too many teams. I mean, even you know, I mean, of course, Villanova was one. I give them utmost respect, but I don't want nobody to rob this from us.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely. Absolutely.
we had set the stage as far as at that time in history, '78. Because I don't think nobody in Philly had won a national championship at that time. So
Yeah. Yeah.
until Villanova came along years after,
Mhm.
but we're trying to make this happen. So
yeah,
Okay.
and it's kind of like a must type of thing. So
yeah,
and they'll do what's right. I mean, just have representation from the NCAA, and that's being inclusive, because you get asked
right.
to do it and not include them,
Right, exactly.
but you're
That
being
Right.
exactly.
inclusive. So
Right.
but I'm gonna reserve a comment, and don't let me forget after we close the show about it. But we're gonna do that right now, though. Listen, gentlemen, it's really been
Okay.
a pleasure. Great conversation, great historical aspects to what's going on. You got anything to add to that, Les?
Nah, man, we good, man. It's been a
Yeah.
pleasure.
So
Yeah.
I definitely want to just once again thank you guys for showing up to the show. It's been a pleasure to have you here, and we'll definitely
Thank you.
see you guys on the next one.
All right. Appreciate you.
All right now.
Rose.